video, we're going to talk about spooling up a bait caster. So this is a little Daiwa CC80 I had. It's a reel that I kind of use for real light stuff with a lighter rod. I'm going to put some 12-pound Usuri copolymer on it, and I'm going to use this 10-pound braid as a backer. So using the braid as a backer does a couple things. Realistically speaking, I'm never going to cast out 120 yards. This reel will hold 120 yards, 12-pound test line. I'm never going to cast that out, realistically. And I'm not fishing for nothing that's going to drag out that much line. So if you use the braid, you fill about half the spool with braid, it kind of gives you a stopping point. So if you get a real bad backlash or bird's nest, whatever you want to call it, then I only have to cut out 50, 60 yards of line as opposed to 120, and makes my life a little bit easier, makes it a little bit cheaper. I can get a lot more out of a smaller spool, and it also just makes your reel cast. It seems like it makes your reel cast a little bit better because it's this braid will kind of pack in there and kind of shortens up your spool and makes it just cast better, in my opinion. So first things first, I'm gonna get my line guide pretty well straight, and there's a pile of different ways to get the line around the spool. The way I like to do it is I'll take the cover off, whether it's a tip down cover on a hinge or you just pull it all the way off. Do whatever you can. I'm gonna take my spool out. I'm gonna take my line. I'm gonna put it through my line guide and run it out the hole. All right, we're out the hole. And once you got that, you're gonna tie just a quick little overhand knot in the line, and then clip it off just past the knot. And you can tie however you want to onto the spool. Easy way to tie it is just easiest way to tie it to me is just a simple slip knot. So I'm gonna hold my tag end, wrap it around my two fingers, so I cross it, and then pull the main line through, makes a little loop, and then you stick it on your spool. The reason you put that little knot in first is so when you pull it tight and that braid slips down, it's got something to catch on. All right, so now that I got that, you'll pull your line back through, making sure you have your spool in the correct orientation, and just kind of set it through, put it in, take the cap, put it back on. Easy peasy. You got your line started on your spool. Now, if you just go to turn it, it's not going to go. You don't want to hold, you're holding pressure, it's not going to go. So what you're going to do is you're going to just take a couple, kind of guide it with your fingers, hold it a little tight, but don't put a whole lot of tension on it. Just kind of get a couple loops through. Once you get a couple loops through, grab a hold to it, and then start reeling. And as you can see, the line is taking up quite nicely now. And for this, you don't want to use any expensive braid. Get the cheapest stuff you can from Walmart, whatever's on clearance, Dick's, Academy, Cabela's, Bass Pro, wherever. Order it off of Amazon. I mean, the cheapest, they have a whole bunch of really cheap stuff on Amazon. Now, you can also do this on your fishing rod a whole lot longer. I didn't want to bring it in the house, so I'm just doing it right here in my hand. And what you're kind of going to want to do is, when you get to the very ends of your spool, you kind of want to pull your line that way with your fingers so that you get all the way up to the edge. And when you go back, you want to do the exact same thing. And just kind of back and forth. And if you notice one side's getting thicker than the other, then focus more on that side. And keep your line going that way. Make sure you get, and then sometimes just kind of go opposites just to keep the middle built up. And then once you get about halfway spooled up, should be about that ish. You're gonna stop, cut your line, you're done with the braid. All right, so next is going to be attaching your main line to your backer. Now, I'm sure you can't see this because this braid is tiny and about the same color as my table, but I will do, this is going to be a double uni knot. And I'll do another video on how to do those as well. But you're gonna take, line them up side by side, and you're going to take your braid, make a loop around your fingers, and line it up directly in line with that main line, and then you're just gonna wrap it. Wrap it 4 or 5 times, it's really all it needs. All right, so that's 5 times wrapped. I got a nice little loop, and we're gonna pull it back through until it makes a little, I don't know if you can see that, it makes a little holder there. Now this side, you're gonna do the exact same thing with your main line. You're gonna make a loop, and you're gonna wrap it. Same thing, 4 or 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Now with this, because you're pulling down on the braid, helps to just kind of give it a little bit of spit to kind of pull it down. It's the easiest way to do it. Make it nice and tight, pull it tight. And then once you get both of those tied, you're gonna take your braid and your main line and you're just gonna pull them apart. And that's going to cause them to butt up right next to each other. And then you have 2 tag lines. You got your main line tag line. You're just gonna clip that off pretty close. Got your braid tag line. Do the same thing with this. Clip that off pretty close. Now, I will be honest with you, there's been about 47 times that I've tied this and I've accidentally cut my main line instead of my tag end. It happens. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? It's frustrating, takes some getting used to. So now the challenging part of this is now you want to try and get that knot as close to the center as you possibly can. So, I mean, if you can get pretty close, you're pretty good. So see that my knot is right there in the middle. And then you're just gonna do the exact same thing. You're gonna hold some decent tension and just spool it up. That's the same thing as you go. If you notice one side is getting more than the other, then push it in the direction of the side that's getting less. You want to make sure you go all the way up to the edge of the spool. And make sure you get the middle good, all the way up to the edge, all the way up to the edge. And just keep kicking. And just, like I said, keep an eye out for where your line's going on your spool. You want your spool going all the way up to the edge. Your line going all up to the edge of the spool. Alright, so on every reel, on your spool, there's a little lip. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a very small little lip right here where it goes from a straight edge to a bevel. When you get to that lip, it's time to stop. Alright, so, because that's plenty. If you do too much, it's really easy to get an overrun with that. So now we got that, we're gonna clip our main line. And if you're on your reel or on your rod, your reel's on your rod, go ahead and rig it up. You're good to go. If you just have your reel in your hand like this and you're not putting it on the rod directly, you take and make a loop, fold it over and pull it through. Then you can take it and wrap it around and attach it on your tension knob. and then just reel it in tight. And you're good to go. Anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me. And have a nice day. Give me a like and subscribe if you want to. Bye.